Forcing is a feature of PLCs that is very useful during program development, installation, and troubleshooting. Forcing allows the user to force an input or an output on or off regardless of the actual state of the field device. This is accomplished by using the programming device. Forcing on the Allen Bradley PLCs is a two-step process. To force an input on, the user first places a 1 in the bit position of the input force table that corresponds to the same address in the input image table. The second step is to turn on forces by the Enable Forces selection on that toolbar. With the force in place and forces enabled, any reference in the ladder logic program will appear as on. A note will appear below the instruction to indicate that the input is being forced on. To illustrate the forcing of an input on, we will use a simple two-rung program. First, without any force installed and without forces enabled, the outputs will change as the input I:1/3 is opened and closed. Now we will put a 1 in the input forces table at I:1/3 and then click on Enable Forces. Now the outputs stay on regardless of the switch being opened or closed. To force an output on, you would follow the same process, except you would place a 1 in the output forces table. The outputs behave normally without any forces enabled. Now we will put a 1 in the output forces table at the address O:2/5, the output we wish to force on. We will then enable forces. Observe that the physical output shown in the simulator on the left turns on immediately and stays on regardless of conditions on the rung of the output energize instruction. In the Allen Bradley PLCs, the output force only affects the physical output device. All other references to the address O:2/5 behave as if there were no forces. Not all manufacturers of PLCs implement the forcing function in this manner. Some will have internal references to the address O:2/5 also be forced. Outputs can also be forced off by placing a 0 in the output forces table. It is very important that you do not use forcing unless you completely understand the operation of the equipment and program you are working with. Misuse could cause personal injury and/or equipment damage. Many companies have policies against using the force function. An indicator light will be lit on the CPU module of the PLC when forces are enabled.